a little circle thing. Oh, you're live. Hare Krishna Prabhus. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I somehow or other, I managed to get involved. I think Mukunda in the UK sent an email to his entire email list with everybody included, of course. And I mean, not included in the sense that they were up. Oops, camera. The list was like obvious for everyone. And so, well, I took advantage of that to kind of open up a dialogue about simple living, high thinking, because it's a big deal. And it was really wonderful because Govinda Dasi added some really valuable insight. But unfortunately, along the fringes of this, instead of being a real productive talk, some particular devotees got into, well, instead of talking about the emergency, let's just talk about all the, the details about whether this person liked that person or something. But wait a minute, we're in, I would say the analogy is, the materialistic civilization is like a ship. And most people are on that ship, and it's obviously going down. And Srila Prabhupada told us it was going down. And I'm somebody who's already on an island, and I'm fine. I don't have to worry about what's happening in the ship, other than just to be curious and also to be worried about my god brothers and sisters who are still there on the ship. And what I'm saying is, get into a lifeboat and get over here to one of the islands, or at least to land or something. I'm just trying to say this is what's happening, and it's on that level of an emergency, way more important than talking about how to address women, which, by the way, Ram Raghava, Mataji or Prabhu's fine. It's like, I feel like if people are saying Prabhu, that they're acknowledging me more as a spirit soul and a god sister, whereas if they're saying Mataji is more in a social context, that I'm the one cooking or something. So anyway, I mean, it's a minor point. The real point is, and Ram Raghava Prabhu, I would like to talk to you eventually, but there's a lot of things going on that are really serious. I mean, I saw a young god brother who was born in the movement, who's well educated and articulate and intelligent, and he had taken COVID virus tests, multiple. I don't get it. I mean, it's like, why would you let a demon stick something up right next to your brain? I mean, what reason could they have to do that? Anyway, I'm digressing. What I want to do with this video is I want to be able to talk to the spirit soul. And I developed a technique. It's a real cool technique. All you do is you start talking to the spirit soul, and then you just kind of explain the environment, the real true environment, because we all have this topmost reality. And if we can get there, we can actually we can figure out a way to encourage us to act in Srila Prabhupada's best interest, not worrying so much about the false ego and what we think we need and what we think we have. Because in reality, all those things that you think you have that give you security, they're going bye-bye pretty soon. So anyway, everybody, if they could just kind of hold with me for this. I'm doing this with my husband too, but can you hear me, Billy? Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's able to hear. And so what I want people to do is just kind of relax and just feel themselves, the consciousness, the real self that's covered by all these beliefs about who they are and what they think they need or possessions, that we're just that consciousness, the spirit soul. And bring that, and just bring your consciousness right into your heart, in your heart chakra, and sit there in a seat that you can make. You can to make a seat to sit there. My seat is kind of like a grass mat. It's almost like those yogi seats. Well, that's kind of neat. That was the vision that came to me about my seat. But I shouldn't explain mine, because you should make one that's the first thing that comes to your mind, that's your seat to sit in. And as you're sitting there in that seat, in your heart, just start to feel Krishna's presence. Just feel that he's here, and maybe feel his smile. It'll take me a little bit to just get into that. I do Qigong every day, and when I do that, the first thing I do is I stand there and I just try to feel Krishna's smile, because I know his presence if I can feel the smile, but sometimes I can almost, yes. There. Okay. Now I feel Krishna's smile. Now feel the presence of Paramatma next to you. This being conscious of Paramatma has the power to dissipate all the layers of the false ego. I mean, there are really a lot of layers. So when I kind of look at my false ego, and it's like, it's very subtle, but it's huge. And it's like each time I'm trying to take a little bit out, it's like cleaning. Like right now, we're going to be having a lot of mud, and sometimes things get saturated in mud, and it's like you have to scrub, and then you scrub again and scrub again. That's what the false ego's like, what we believe about ourselves. I mean, me, I think I'm a woman, but I'm a spirit soul in a woman's body. For some reason, Krishna thought that was the best narrative for me to have, to be able to become Krishna conscious. So now that you can see yourself seated there and Lord Paramatma, then the appropriate thing to do is to offer your humble obeisances to the Lord of your heart. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskata Deshatarane. We are all disciples and followers of Srila Prabhupada. And as such, we can rest assured that Srila Prabhupada, all we have to do is think about him with some love and some attachment and some chastity. And if in the past we haven't had that, then we can just pray to Srila Prabhupada to open our heart and let us feel that attachment to him. Okay, now I want to tell you, in this state of consciousness, I want to tell you about just a random event from my narrative here in this simple living, high thinking. So we've had this snowstorm, and it started maybe about 3 days ago. Normally we don't get any snow, but I was actually hoping for some snow because it'll make the pastures so much lusher. And so here it is, almost the end of winter, and we've had a very mild winter, and all of a sudden there's this huge snow. And so for 3 days it was really wonderful, because I'm going through this thing where I'm kind of detoxing from a huge wound that I have. I don't know if other people, I discovered a tumor in my breast, probably about 4 years ago. And I've had through this, it was diagnosed as breast cancer, but I decided to just, through a series of realizations, I decided to just let nature kind of take its course. And as it turns out, breast cancer is a hoax. And what's happening now is my wound is healing, is undeniably healing. But at the same time, and maybe later in this narrative, I'll get through some kind of graphic experience that also gave me an incredible realization. But I think in this video, I want to talk about a phone call that I made to an acquaintance, somebody that we've been cultivating a little bit. He has cows, and he milks the cows and sells raw milk. And so we've been working out a deal that his extra milk, I make cheese and use that to support our project, because we're, a little bit challenged with having certain resources, namely Federal Reserve notes. We have a lot of abundance and pretty much everything else in our life. So when I called him, he was a little surprised, and I hadn't realized it had been 6 weeks since I talked to him, and a whole lot had happened in his narrative. His wife works at the post office, and she came home with a cough and then came down with the most horrible cold. It was just a cold. And then her husband got it. And they decided they couldn't milk the cows. I mean, they had to milk their cows, but they were just tossing all the milk. And I didn't call them during that time because, you know, I would have taken the milk. At least I would have made butter with, you know, with the cream, even if I didn't have the resources to make cheese with it all. But anyway, so they were tossing the milk, and then their whole family, she has a sister, and the mother, Todd's mother, lives with them, and she also got the same cold. So they went and they got tested, and yes, indeed, it was COVID. And I was really surprised because I sensed when I was talking to him that he was a little bit frightened. Yeah, I got it. You know, it is really, you know, there really is this pandemic going on, and he said he was influenced by it. But I questioned him a little further, because he was one of the people that when I first found out that you can observe with your senses very simply, in a very simple manner, that the earth is, you perceive with your senses, you perceive the earth to be flat. In other words, if you go across a body of water where there should have been enough of a drop, you can easily prove that what you're seeing is flat. So in other words, it proves that one of the foundations of what we believe, which we're talking about, the false ego, was proven to be false. And so what happened was I started to tell him about my experience with my tumor, and that I had learned that breast cancer was indeed a hoax. And so I also explained to him that what he had, if he hadn't heard all the propaganda that there's a big pandemic, he would have assumed that he and his family had all caught colds like everybody does every year, a little bit worse than usual. But I know I've had plenty of, you know, so-called viruses, and I have a whole new idea from this breast cancer about, again, it's the false ego. What we think about health actually really affects how healthy we are. I have had some amazing experiences in which I feel like my body's actually getting young, because when I first started learning about health, I couldn't sit cross-legged, and, you know, getting up, I had a lot of pain. The first thing in the morning, I'd be thinking of how much pain I had in my hips. And now it's like, I feel like a young person. I mean, yesterday, maybe I'll attach the video. Our starling came. No, that was 2 days ago, wasn't it? The starling, when she was fanning herself. Anyway, I don't know if my husband's the word. Anyway, so she was fanning herself, and I got out of the chair in a way that, you know, normally a person would have to be young to be able to, because I wanted to get the picture without scaring her away, and I did get a picture too, so it's pretty awesome. So anyway, the point of this being is this person that I was talking to, and I talked to him about health. He's an open-minded person, and he was able to understand that this whole thing, this whole coronavirus, even though he believes that he was affected by it, it is a hoax. And what are the implications of that? I mean, what does that mean? If the coronavirus is a hoax, then it means that everything that's happening, that you're wearing the mask, is all part of something to manipulate your mind and to get your mind more absorbed in this illusion. But we're devotees. And our reality is, we're in a situation where when the whole chaos that happens and everything falls, Prabhupada has assured us that we will have facility and we have knowledge. We have the one thing that can help people. So what I'm trying to do is get through these layers of the false ego that, oh, I can't cooperate, or I can't go to this place because of the weather, or because of, you know what, this is your ship sinking, and somebody's offering you a lifeboat. Go, I know I don't want the blue one. My false ego says I need to have a red lifeboat. Come on, guys. Stop fighting about stuff like that. If you're not already on a farm, don't think that there's enough time that you can build one up and learn. We've been trying to live this lifestyle for over a decade. And I can tell you, the first years when I started growing my own food, I made so many mistakes, I would have starved. So my advice, if anybody's listening, is to find somebody who has some kind of experience, and then humbly ask for a spot on that lifeboat. So I guess that's my video for day 15 minutes almost, but I'm sorry it was long, but I hope this helps some people understand the gravity of the situation that we're looking. Oh, and yeah, maybe in a future video, I'll talk about maybe the gory details about what's happening with my physical body. I think you can see I'm not sick. And I actually, since I discovered the tumor, which was diagnosed by a professional, so I have cancer. I mean, technically, according to their definition, I have cancer, but I'm not sick. And I guarantee that I am going to die at the time and the circumstances of Krishna's choosing. And having this cancer was like a wonderful boon, because from having it, I was able to see through the hoax. And I hope it helps you see through the hoax too. Hare Krishna.